Redfin experts predict that the home sales will drop to its lowest level since 2011. Hey everyone, this is Zaid Hanna with the Hanna Group here at Real Estate 38, and today's topic, in fact, it's actually an article that I just read yesterday, and this one comes from Redfin. So Redfin's expert, they predicted a few things for 2023, and one of the predictions, the main headline of the prediction is home sales in the United States will decline for the first time in 2023. So what does that mean? So year over year, since 2011, we will have the lowest since 2011. So let's unpack that a little bit, because in fact 2022 we had actually the first decline since 2011. So meaning in 2008, 9 and 10, that was the Great Recession, the housing crash and all that we went through, and then after that we went through the recovery, which was since 2011, 12, 13, all the way until just about this year. So I have a graph here, and this is from National Association of Realtors. So the data says that in 2008, we have sold 4 million homes as Americans. Now, I have a graph here that you get to actually see more recent data, and it shows the following. In 2017, we sold 5.5 million homes. In 18, 5.3. In 19, 5.3. In 2020, 5.6. This is, mind you, with pretty much March and April was a shutdown where we couldn't sell any homes. And then we went through this crazy boom in 2021, and we sold about 6.1 million homes. Now, we haven't done that before for the past 100 years. So we went through that crazy boom. And of course, this year, it has dropped to 5.4. So I'm going to argue that 2022 is the first year in sales decline, not pricing, but in sales decline year over year. That 5.4 is lower than 6.1. So 2023 is predicted, by the way, to sell roughly about 4.5 million homes in America. So the reason I start with that is because the news will do more to terrify than to clarify. So truly looking at the numbers. So that's point number one. Year over year, we're going to have about 16% decline in sales. And simply that makes sense because we will have less inventory. The rates are higher. The layoffs that we're experiencing right now. So yeah, that naturally is going into 23. So second point is mortgage rates will decline, ending right below 6%. Now that's going to be the conforming limits, the jumbo rates. Of course, we talk about the Bay Area, where most of the purchases are slightly above 1.1 to 1.2. So you're seeing a lot of the jumbo product being used. So jumbo product is about 1% lower. So we expect it to be below 5%. And a lot of the economists are actually saying that too. So it's going to be between 5 to 6%, depending on what kind of product that you will buy. Home prices will post their first year over year decline in a decade, but the US will avoid foreclosures. So also, let's back up a little bit. 2020, we did see that drop in comparison to 2021. So Bay Area pricing right now is about August to September of 2021. So yeah, we did see a decline in 2022. Of course, they're giving us US numbers. I'm giving you Bay Area numbers so you have a way of comparison. Builders, point number 4, builders will focus on multifamily rentals. Now, single family homes in the Bay Area, we barely saw them. There's barely any land, 2 fault lines covering whether it be Hayward fault line in the east or Loma Prieta fault line from San Francisco down to San Jose on the west. There's barely any land to build on. That's why you barely see any new construction. But in fact, look at this graph. This data dates back to the 1930s. Now, the construction was 5.4. These, of course, are in millions. So 5.4 new units in the US were built in terms of new construction. Now, this is before the baby boom generation. So baby boomers were born between 1946 to 1964. They kind of changed everything. So that's what you could see actually in the 50s and the 60s. You saw all that boom all the way to the 70s and the 80s. Now, after the 2008 crash, the builders backed off and they said, okay, maybe we don't want to partake in this and we will actually build less because we overbuilt in between the 2000s and 2010s, to 2009, that is. So we actually, in the past 10 years, we have been underperforming with new construction to 5.8. And of course, Bay Area is much less than that. In fact, California has been performing 1 million deficit in new construction in the past 10 years. So we've had very low construction. So that is not going to change here for us in the next year or two. Investors' activity, point number 5, investors' activity will bottom out in the spring, then rebound. So what does that really say? So we had institutional investors enter our market. Institutional investors, this is where you hear about Jeff Bezos talked about he's going to get into residential housing, buying thousands and thousands, if not millions, of single family homes and using it as a REIT. So that's an institutional investor, Wall Street getting into real estate market. In some cities, they were buying approximately 25% of every home sold. Now in the Bay Area, the home prices are so expensive, we didn't have that. Now you notice that Zillow got out of home purchasing, iBuyer program. Redfin closed out that division. Open Door is in trouble too. So you had that institutional investor, but it didn't account for much because the price point is so high here. But on average, by the way, we have about 10% of every home sold goes to an investor. That could be flippers, that could be that iBuyer investor that we are talking about. So we are going to see less of that, but they're saying that it will rebound half of the year moving forward from spring on into 23. And of course, the last point that I felt that it was important, the migration from one part of the country to another. Now we've seen a lot of shift where West Coast to East Coast to, or the Sun Belt states where a lot of folks, the retirees or even some of the tech workers go work from anywhere you want and still work for a company that belongs here in the Bay Area. So we're going to see less of that. I agree with that. We're seeing that already. Actually, we saw that just about 6 months ago where it kind of stopped as the company said, hey, why don't you hold on? We may go back to work. And we start to see a lot of the retirees also, they barely owe any mortgage on their homes. They're saying, you know what, in this environment, as the prices are retracting, we retracted about 25% here in the past 9 months. That's not the price that I am a seller at no more. So I'm just going to stay put. So as I'm giving you this data, is I'm trying to clarify the information that's out there. Now, if you're in the market, you're thinking about selling, you're thinking about buying, reach out. I follow this data. I analyze everything so I can share it with you to put it in these terms so that way you can make an educated decision. My phone number is 408-515-1613. Feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to guide you. Bye-bye for now.